Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Welcome to another Shadow Era video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys some basic deck building and gameplay instruction to help ease you into the game, or maybe you are a current player and you just need to get back your footing into building good decks that can bring you up the ladder. Help you win some pop-ups, maybe get more into competitive. So let's go into the basic deck building concepts that I use. So now you'll see some images on screens. I described to you what I do. So typically for decks, I like to go 40 cards plus my hero. I use 20 allies and then 20 of other cards that I use to fill the deck. For my allies, I generally like 4 2-cost allies, 10 3-cost, and 6 of 4 or more. So basically, might be your fatties, right? For draw, I like to go 8 to 10, depending on the draw that I'm using. Some classes less, some classes pseudo draw, but generally 8 to 10 versions of draw to get through your deck. And then for tech, I like to go 2 to 4, depending on the meta, depending on the deck that I'm using. If I'm using an aggro deck, it's going to have less tech. If it's a control deck, it's going to have more tech. So it depends on the deck. So that's 2 to 4 that I generally use. So in this example, I'm going to show you Banebow using those basic deck building concepts. So let me switch over the Shadow Era right here. And now we'll pop it up. Yeah, it should be. There we go. Just had to give it a little bit. So I have Banebow loaded up right now. Let's see. So for my 2-cost allies, I have Snare Trapper here. I'll explain to you why I chose him later on. Again, if you watched the previous video, I mentioned 3-cost allies that I really like. I really like Deathmage Thaddeus. In a Banebow deck, he's an additional ping to go along with his ability of targeting 2 targets for 2 damage. Grimghast, nice control ally. Opposing allies have -1 attack. And Flamesplitter, I think he works both offensively and defensively for Banebow. Again, like I explained, Lair and Knight is kind of everywhere, so this guy's really good in dealing with it. Deepwood Bobcat, play him if you're on first turn. Play him turn 4, shouldn't be too much of an issue, or you can use him to haste later on. So he's just a really good ally overall. And Shadow Knight for my other 2 of 4 cost or more. He's a pseudo draw. I can use him later on to pull allies back. I don't generally like going for more than 2 Shadow Knight because it feels bad to play him if you don't have allies in your graveyard yet. So you kind of want a chance to set up with those allies in graveyard first so you can drop your Shadow Knight and get the extra value out from using him. Got a tech here, Shriek of Vengeance, getting rid of an enemy item or sport ability. It costs 4 or more. I also have Sacrificial Lamb here. This acts as a little pseudo draw because you saw that with Grimghast and Deathmage Thaddeus. I have a lot of unique allies, so maybe I have other ones in my hand that I don't need to get. It combos well with Shadow Knight, who can pull the ally back later. It's also tech for dealing with warriors, like their crippling blows, because they have ability allies like Marksman that do more based on the amount of allies that you have on the field, so Sacrificial Lamb can deal well with that. Hunter's Gambit, this is both a control ability of target opposing ally have -2 health, and it's a draw engine. It's draw 2 cards when that ally dies. Perfect Shot, I have 4 of them. Some people go 2. I go 4 because there's a lot of fatties in this meta. Another tech card, Leyline Nexus. This can be Acid Jet if you don't like Leyline. This is just a personal preference. Moving on, Snare Trap. Now, I told you before, I explained why I chose Snare Trapper. Snare Trapper draws the Snare Trap. This is the only trap card that it can pull. However, it's kind of pseudo-draw in that it's going to whittle your deck down more, so you can end up pulling other cards that you need, like extra chances of getting Hunter's Gambit or Perfect Shot. Snare Trap also combos with Bobcat as a cheap way of activating Bobcat, so Snare Trap can... It's gonna exile the next ally they play of cost 3 or more, and say you haste out the Bobcat, get a kill on an ally. That's going to give you some really good board control to pair up. Now, if you weren't using Snare Trap or Bobcat, let's say you were going with like a Poison Arrow, maybe going for like a standard basic Disciple of Aldmore or Murderous Hulk, for example, The other 2-cost ally I really liked for Banebow. If I can pull up, here we go. Let me pull it your way here. This guy was recently changed that I actually really like. And it's Karuth Devotee. Here he is. This one is what I really like. In the beginning of the game, it's going to be hard for him to attack the hero. That's really his weakness, because you need allies in your graveyard for him to attack. But because Banebow's ability comes up so frequently, he ends up becoming really good to get additional allies in your control. Because it costs 3, that means you generally don't want to use it unless it's on an opposing ally of 3 or more. Just be careful that that ally has no abilities, okay? So if it's a Death Mage Thaddeus, it's just going to be a base 0/4, and it's not going to do anything. So if you do decide to go the route of like a Poison Arrow build without Bobcat, Devotee is actually the 2-cost ally that I recommend for Banebow, because Banebow likes to play more of a control aspect. So the less allies that you have to play, because you have Devotee pulling allies for you, the more options it's going to give you later. So moving on from there, in the past you would typically see 4 Soul Seekers. Soul Seekers was the go-to weapon for Banebow, but with Weevil being a 3-cost, it's also a pseudo-tech. Makes it real nice for whittling down weapons, especially. It's a 2/2, so it's basically 3 costs, doing 4 damage overall. Weevil's just a really good option for him. Some hunters will do 2 Perfect Shot and 4 Weevils. I think that's better in a mid-game to aggro dominant meta, but right now we're in a fatty dominant meta, so I go for more Perfect Shot for Banebow. So this is the again, the numbers will add right up in terms of the amount of allies for each. 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 or more. We have 20 allies. We have 20 other. In this case, you could say that we have 6 tech in this deck. But because there's a lot of cross back and forth how the cards in here work, which is good. Gives you some extra versatility in the card selection in this deck that I made. So now let's give this deck a shot. I'm not going to fast forward as much, like cut out as much. You'll probably just see one game of this deck, because I really want to explain how to run through a typical Shadow Era game. So let's pull up a match, and let's get right to it. Alright, and we're back. We have Gravebone coming up next. I think this was a 58 card deck, which is close to 60, so this is a fatter Banebow deck. So I can see here, looking at it, typically what I like to do is just sacrifice the most expensive card first. In this case, though, we have 3 Trappers. We're probably going to do like a Trapper, a Spitter, then a Thaddeus, so I don't need these extra Trappers. So I'm going to sacrifice one of these Trappers instead. Generally, you'd want to sacrifice the most expensive card in your hand, because it's going to take longer for you to be able to use that card, which means you're going to have to hang on to that card the whole time. The more expensive it is, the longer you're going to have to hold on to it. So again, I'm going to sacrifice another Trapper. And this guy is going to pull up a Snare for me. Not that I generally want to play the Snare. In this case, a Snare will probably be an easy target for me to sacrifice, because I really want to get these allies on the board. So the nice thing about Harbinger here is that it already gave me a target for Shadow Knight to pull. With any luck, I will be able to pull my other Shadow Knight with this Shadow Knight, but we'll see how that goes. So we're going to sacrifice a Snare Trap. We're going to ping the Harbinger with Death Mage's with Thaddeus' ping ability. We're going to finish it off with the Trapper. And that's all we can do for that turn, so we'll go from here. Okay, so I won't need the Flame Spitter right now. What I'm going to want to do is put some more pressure on the board. As you know, Bobcat can be hasted in later, but because we have clear board control right now, I'm just going to summon the Bobcat right away. And then attack the hero with Thaddeus. That was actually a bad play to play the Shroud on turn 3, because he gave up board control to do that. Now, if he has a supernova, that could be okay. But if you remember in my previous Majaya Fire Mage build, I explained how if you're behind the board when you use supernova, it's actually to make you go even further behind on the board. Because then you're taking even more damage on your hero. So he's got another Harbinger here. That got rid of my, my perfect shot. He's going to probably want to use his ability to get another ally. Or he may have supernova in hand. He's waiting to use it after that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sacrifice this Flame Splitter. I'm holding on to my Grimghast in case he can get some board back with his ability. Same reason why I'm going to hold Shadow Knight, just in case he does have that Nova. So instead, I'm actually going to play this crossbow. So I'm going to kill the Harbinger with my Bobcat. And again, I want to save the ability as well, waiting for when he wants to take out another ally. And I'm going to attack once with the crossbow, and I'm going to save the durability of this, the last hit too. So this, again, you're preparing for the different options that your opponent probably has. And there's a supernova, so he's going to play this supernova. He's going to follow it up by pulling an ally, because he needs to get bored at this point, or he's just going to immediately lose it. So here, this tells me he didn't like the allies that he could bring back. The only real ally he could get would be Death Collector, and Banebow plus the crossbow to kill it immediately. So we saw that as being a bad option. We are playing the Shadow Knight to get back our Bobcat, and we're not doing anything. We're gonna hold this. We could play our ability to put some ping, but we're going to hold on to it for at least another turn. So in this case now, we saw him drop 2 supernova, okay? So he's getting pretty low in health. So we're going to put some extra pressure on him in this case. Like you see, we have another weapon in our hand. So we're going to put another big ally, which he won't be able to kill unless he has another supernova. Chances are, there's small chance of him having it, but he could have it. So we're going to drop a Bobcat here. And now we're actually going to put some extra pressure on him. So that even if he does have a supernova, we're going to kill him next turn with our new weapon or our ability. So now what you can see is our hero ability does 2 damage to the hero, our weapon does 2 damage to the hero, and our Bobcat does 3. So that's 7 damage. So right this turn, we actually have kill on the hero. So we're just going to do that right here to finish the game off. And there you go. There's a basic rundown of deck building and gameplay in action here in Shadow Era. Using Banebow as our example. If you have other hero examples you would like to see for a basic deck building and gameplay guide, let me know down in the comments. Thanks guys. See you next time.